Hello, hello, hello. Woo! Beautiful Boise. Beautiful people.
Everybody!
Are you ready for a phenomenal weekend? So great to be here with all of you. Nowhere else in the world that we would rather be than here with you in Boise. We have the honor and privilege introducing John C. Maxwell. Woo! Not only is he a dear, dear friend of ours, all of the diamonds and the worldwide leaders, we've had some incredible experiences and adventures together. You know, John was named the #1 leadership and management expert by Inc. magazine. Not only is he a speaker and an author, writing 30 million books, many on the New York Times bestseller list. John has a phenomenal talk to share with you this afternoon. And he says, when you have something worth saying, people start listening. John, you always say amazing, transformational ideas. We know you're going to be sharing more with us today, and we are listening, aren't we? We are blessed. Worldwide Group is honored, and we want you to give him a welcome like no other. Thank you for being here and supporting this phenomenal organization and all of these amazing independent business owners.
Oh, man, we are so excited. John is here.
Woo!
He's in the house. Woo! Well, you know, I don't know about you guys, but no matter where I go, I mention John's name. I say, when you go to the library, just say, can I see John's books? And they take you to a section in the library, and they go, this is John. He's your friend.
Yes.
You know, John, I mean, I could sit here for an hour and introduce this gentleman. He is so amazing. He does not need to be here.
That's right.
He's asked to speak around the world. He's asked to speak for some of the greatest corporations in the world. I mean, some of the greatest athletic teams in the world. And I'm telling you what, and they pay him well. And he comes here because he believes this is the greatest organization in all of America.
That's right.
Yep. Pretty amazing. Yep. And thank you, John, for keeping your books simple so special people like me can read them. Isn't that great? So, John Maxwell, we love you. Thank you for being our friend. You are an incredible human being. Worldwide Dream Builders love you. Ladies and gentlemen, John Maxwell.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Wow. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. My name is John, and I'm your friend. So good to see you. All right, grab your seats. Let's go. I got some teaching to do. We got some work to accomplish. It's great to be back with Worldwide. It's family to me. I'm delighted to be here, and Brad and Julie. Wow. I am the president of the Brad and Julie fan club. I am. They're just beautiful people. They love you so much, and they're such incredible examples. All the diamonds are just beautiful examples of what happens when you really build a business and help people and add value to them. So it's so good it's just really, really good to be here with you. Wow. I was talking to Margaret just a moment ago before I came over, and she's over in Athens, Greece, and so we were catching up a little bit, and I told her I was here, and about her last words to me before we hung up, and she said, well, I said, I'm going to go over now and speak, and she said, well, you're going to get to do what you love to do with people that you love to do it with. And I thought that's it. That really is it. And I love coming here. I love teaching you, and I'm so excited about what I'm going to teach in a moment. But we're so committed. I'm so committed to resourcing you well. And I don't know if you know this, but we have a leadership podcast. And the leadership podcast is free. Just go to maxwellleadership.com. And you, Mark Cole, who is the CEO of all of our companies and also part owner of them, what he does is he takes all of my leadership teaching and he fleshes it out and how that you apply it to your life and to your business. It's become extremely popular. It's the #1 leadership podcast in the world. We've had over 29 million people that follow us on the podcast, and I just want you to know about it. I want you to just Maxwell Leadership Podcast, okay? And I want you to get it. It's free, and listen to us, and that's just one of the ways we want to serve you and we want to grow with you. And I've got too many of these bottles here. Could I give you a bottle of water? Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much. I'm so clumsy. I'll knock the one down I have. So I do have this afternoon at 5:15 when you have your break. I'll be at the book table, wherever that is, and I'll sign books for you, okay? So let me tell you what I have, because I brought some good stuff with me. Make Today Count. This little book talks about what I call the Daily Dozen, 12 things you need to do every day to be successful in life. And the thesis of this book is very simple. The secret of your success is determined by your daily agenda. And here I have your daily agenda. In other words, if you'll just kind of follow the little book every day, and you'll be a success, no doubt about it. Make Today Count. And then the other book I love so much I asked you to bring this time is Success is a Choice. And it comes from a book I wrote several years ago called Talent is Never Enough. And basically this book is based on the fact that the choices you make determine so much how successful that you're going to be in life. This is just a very beautiful, simple, practical book on how to make the right choices and what those right choices are. And then what I'm very, 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 very excited about is I brought with me today my latest book. It's been out for 1 month now, called The 16 Undeniable Laws of Communication. Here it is. Wow. And I'm so excited about this book. It's just been out for a month, and I think the first 2 weeks it was number 3 on the best-selling number 3, and it's just doing really, really well. I've written 4 laws book. I wrote the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, the 17 Laws of Teamwork, the 15 Laws of Personal Growth. This is my 4th laws on the 16 Undeniable Laws of Communication. And I'm going to teach from this book today. I want you to get a book for yourself, but I want you to get a few books for your team. And listen very carefully. This is so. I'm going to talk to you today about how to do the plan in a better way. I'm going to help lift your communication skills in helping people get into the business. And this is a huge book I'm going to talk about in a moment. That's here. And then what I always bring with me is the Maxwell Leadership Bible. And I do that because many of you come every year and get another one, because we're getting now into wedding time and graduation time. This is a phenomenal gift. If you get the Maxwell Leadership Bible, or several, whatever you get, for gifts for people, you give me their name and I'll sign it to them, so that when you give it to them as a gift, it's very personal. And so I'm very excited about it. I bring it here every year, and this thing sells out. You just love the Maxwell Leadership Bible. And for yourself, you might be saying, forget the gift, I want it for me. There are 600 lessons on leadership in here. 600. And then I took in the back the books that I've written to the secular world, and I put biblical principles with them, with scriptures. So, I mean, it's just loaded with leadership. And then lastly, I brought with me a USB that I'm very excited about. This has 2 of my teachings on it. The Leader's Greatest Return. This is all about how to develop leaders on your team and in your organization, because your key to multiplying is developing leaders. Most leaders never develop leaders. Most leaders just have followers. If you have followers, what you'll do is you'll add to your business. But the moment that you learn how to develop leaders, you'll multiply your business. So the Leader's Greatest Return is on here. And then the best book I ever wrote for any kind of a direct marketing, network marketing company is The Power of 5. The 5 essentials that you just want to nail down to be successful in this business. And so both of these teachings are mine, and it's on there, and it's back there, and it's available at the table. And again, my name is John, and I am your friend. Wow. Are you ready to go? If you and I were sitting down, maybe around a table like this, just the 2 of us, and maybe we were having a lunch together, and you looked at me and said, John, if there's one thing you could do for me to up-level my potential for success, what is that one thing? And because I'm known for leadership, a lot of you would say, well, I'm sure John would talk about learn how to lead successfully, and everything rises and falls on leadership. So that's very essential to your success, no doubt about it. But if you would press me and say just one thing, John, what's the one thing I need to appreciate and develop and lift in my life to be more successful than what I am right now? I would tell you that you need to up-level your ability to communicate with people. Communication is absolutely the most important key to your success. Now, you don't need to take my words for it. Warren Buffett, the incredible financial guru, they recently asked him, what's the most important skill a person can develop? Now, here's a man who is known in the financial world, major billionaire, gives advice to millions of people around the world about finances. And when they ask Warren Buffett, what is the one thing that you need to do in developing your skill towards success? Warren Buffett said you could increase your net worth 50% if you would develop and grow in your communication skills. The ability to connect with people, the ability to communicate with people. I'm not talking about just speaking on a stage like I'm doing here. I'm talking about sitting around a table where you have 2 or 3 people, or perhaps somewhere in your home where you're sharing with them the plan. I'm talking about the fact that almost every day of our life, we're communicating with people, trying to convince people, trying to persuade people, trying to influence people. And it's all going to be based upon how successful we are in our communication skills with them. And so I'm going to talk to you today. I don't know how many laws I can do. There are 16, but let me see if I think I can get 4 in for sure. So let's get started, okay? Let's get started. Law number 1. Law number 1 is the law of credibility. That's where it all begins, the law of credibility. And the law of credibility just simply says your most effective message is the one that you live. Powerful. Your most important and effective message is the one you live. The most effective message that John Maxwell can ever deliver to anyone is the message that I live. In other words, the messenger is the message. And when the messenger and what he or she speaks on doesn't match up to who they are, there's a lack of credibility and authenticity in it. Now, authenticity doesn't guarantee you success, but lack of authenticity guarantees you failure. And so when people lack authenticity, credibility, they never are going to be successful in leading because what they say and what they do doesn't measure up. It doesn't match up. It's not the same. There's a dissonance in it. And people can begin to sense that you're saying something, but you're doing something else. It's very simple. Your walk walks and your talk talks. But your walk talks more than your talk talks. Don't ask me to repeat that one. Let me try it. Your walk talks and your talk talks, but your walk talks more than your talk talks. Does that work? Okay. So there's the talk and then there's the walk. And so many times, in companies, they'll have these wonderful statements of purpose or value statements on the wall, and they think because they have it on the wall and people can read it, that that's who they are. Let me tell you something. It's not what you have on your wall that matters. It's what you have in your walk that matters. People don't follow slogans. They follow people. And to have the credibility in people's lives to look at them with integrity and say, follow me. Those 2 simple words means that what I say and what I do are the very same. I'm working right now. I'm writing books all the time, and I want to do a book on moral authority, which is the highest authority a person can have, much higher than positional authority or family authority. This moral authority, and the moral authority comes from the fact that you live what you teach. That it's just who you are is what you say. I can still remember as a very young leader in my 20s, coming to a crisis in my life where I felt that I was getting pressured by people that would be over me to say things I just did not quite buy into or did not quite believe in, or even maybe more important, didn't maybe live it. And I remember I tried to deliver those lessons a couple of times, and it just fell flat, and it just didn't fit. And I lacked persuasion, and I lacked conviction. And I can remember I was probably 24 when I said, I am not going to teach what I do not believe. I'm just not going to teach it. If I don't believe it, I'm not going to teach it. You're not going to hear me talk about it. And then as I began to mature, I even took it a step farther, and I said, I'm not only not going to teach what I don't believe, I'm not going to teach what I don't live. If I don't live it, I'm not going to teach it. That was tested when I started writing books, because I went to my publisher, and I'm just a rookie, and I haven't written any books, and of course they're the authority. And I told them that I wanted to write leadership books, and as soon as I told them I wanted to write leadership books, they looked at me and they said, "That's not a good idea." Well, I said, "Well, why?" And they said, "Well, only 8% of the population, only 8% of the readers read leadership books. So if you write leadership books, they're 92% of the people, they'll never buy a book of yours. You need to have a broader subject than leadership." But I said, "But I like leadership. I are one. And I want to do leadership." They said, "Well, you need to think about it, because if you do, you're going to miss 92% of your audience." And so I went away and I thought about it, and I came back. And then they said, "What have you made your..." I said, "I made a decision. I want to do leadership books." And they said, "You do understand, you're only going to be able to sell books to 8%. I said, I got it. You told me that last time. I thought about it. You know what? I like the 8%. I just like them. I know they're not the majority, and I know that's not everybody, but I like to hang with leaders, and I like to talk to leaders, and I like to talk about leadership. So I said, "I'm going to write leadership books." They said, "Well, okay, but you have to understand, if you write leadership books, you'll never have bestsellers. You got to understand, you got to 8%. And then I said in the manuscript, they came back and said, "You got another problem." I said, "Well, what is it now?" And they said, "Well, you have too many lists in your books. You got lists in every chapter. You like numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And they said, "You need to get rid of the list. People don't want to read lists. They want to read stories." Well, I said, "I like stories. But I like lists too." In fact, honestly, if you asked me to list the things I like the most, one of the things I would put is, I like lists. Liking lists would be kind of like at the top of my list of, this is what I like. And they said, "But you got to understand, you got to understand, you put a lot of lists in there, it'll turn the people off, and you won't sell many books." And I said, "Okay." So now I'm writing lists in the leadership books. 36 million books sold later. I'm doing okay. I'm going to make it now. I got enough food on the table. I'm going to make it. We're going to be all right. Now listen to me. This is huge. You got to be yourself, because the only way you can be your best self is to be yourself. Now, I'm a person of faith, and there's a day when I'm going to give accountability to God to how I've used my gifts. But let me tell you what, I'll give accountability on how I've used my gifts. But I'll never be accountable to God for gifts that I don't have, that I didn't use. So you've got to understand that great communication doesn't begin with what you say, it begins with who you are. There's a difference between a communication reader and a communication leader. A communication reader reads something that's really good, or hears something that's really good, and passes it on to the people. There's nothing wrong with that, by the way. But a communication leader goes deeper. They hear something or they read something, but instead of quickly passing it on to the people, what do? They stop for a moment and they say, "Okay, I've got to learn this principle. Now I've got to live this principle." And after they learn it and live it, then they pass it on. The difference is, if I'm a communication reader, I pass it to you. If I'm a communication leader, I pass it through me to you. And through me is where the credibility is. That's where the moral authority is. That's where the power is. That's where the conviction is. That's where the life change is. It's when I live it myself. I have another law in the book that I may not have time to talk to you today about, but it's the law of preparation. And one of the things I have learned in the law of preparation is the fact that the preparation of teaching a lesson starts with me. So the first person I teach the lesson to is me. I don't teach it to you first. I teach it to me. And I have to ask myself on every point that I deliver, Maxwell, do you live this? Is this you? And if it's me, I'll teach it to you. If it's not me, I'm not going to teach it to you. In other words, it has to go through me before it can come to you. And don't miss that. Through me, to you. That's credibility. And when you have that and you teach on that level, everything changes. I mean, I know you deliver a plan, but your ability to deliver that plan is going to be effective based by the fact that you're not only delivering a plan to people that you would like to have in the business, the power of the plan is going to be in the fact that you live the plan. And that you not only live the plan lives in you. And you don't try to tell people the plan will change someone else's life if it hasn't changed your life. If it hasn't changed you, hey, to quit trying to transport what you haven't tried yourself. But the moment you can look at your people and say, let me tell you how this business changed my life. Let me tell you what happened to me when I said yes. Now, all of a sudden, you're on a whole different level of communication. You're not, when you do the plan, you're not trying to give out just information. When you do the plan, you're trying to pass on conviction. You want to be contagious, don't you? I mean, I hear some people speak, and they're not contagious at all. I mean, I just hear them, and they're telling me things that are probably just fine, but I can tell they don't live it. And they bore me. Somebody asked me the other day, said, well, what happens if you're in the audience and the people are starting to fall asleep? What are you going to do? I said, I'd go wake up the speaker. Let me tell you, you don't have an audience problem. You have a speaker problem. And credibility is so huge. I love this chapter in the book because I sat down and I said, okay, Maxwell, what are the steps to be a credible communicator? Because there are steps. You just don't one day say, I'm going to be credible. But there are steps to take. So I backed up and I went into my own life and I realized that there were 6 different steps that I took to get to where I am today as a leader that has some credibility, I hope, to my life. And I'm going to give you those 6 steps now. First of all, I had to find myself. I had to find me. I had to find me. Wow. Took some time. Who am I? After I found me, I could go to the second step of credibility. Once I know me, then once I find me, I can know me. I can begin to understand who I am. So I had to find myself so I could know myself. And why did I have to find myself so I could know myself? So I could go to step 3 so I could be myself. Now I'm starting to really get into this land of credibility. I found myself so I could know myself, so that I could be myself. Now, why do I want to be myself? So that I could get to step number 4. This is where credibility starts to lift. If I find myself, so now I can know myself, so I can really be myself, then I can get to step number 4. I can improve myself. Now I can begin to improve me. Why? Because I got me figured out. Can't improve yourself if you can't grow yourself if you don't know yourself. It's an impossibility. So I find myself, to know myself, you with me? To be myself, to improve myself. Now, once I start to improve myself, I'm going to get to the key to great communicators. If you just came up to me and said, John, okay, 16 laws, got it. Okay, I'll get the book, I'll read it. Now, what's the one thing? What's the one thing that if I could just do that, I could become a terrific communicator? I'm going to give you the one thing right now. In fact, look at your neighbor and say, John's going to give you the one thing. Go ahead and tell him that. He's going to give you the one thing. He's going to do that. Yeah, that's good. That's real good. Look right back at your neighbor and tell him, and you desperately need the one thing. You need the one thing. Your one thing. You desperately need that one thing. In fact, look at him and say, I can think of 3 or 4 more things you need too. But we don't have time. We don't have time for all that. We don't have time for that. So we're just going to do the one thing. You see, I've got to find myself, to know myself, to be myself, to improve myself, so I can get over myself. Oh, yes. Woo. Because you can never be a great communicator if it's about you. See, when I come out here on stage, it is not about me at all. It's all about you. You see, if it's about me, if I think, oh, I hope they like me, and oh my gosh, I hope I look good, and I hope they really like the speech, and it's all about, oh, I hope John, it's all about, can I tell you, I can never deliver to you what you deserve as long as I'm thinking about me. And when I watch communicators all the time, I want to walk up to them and say, my name is John, and I'm your friend. You got to get over yourself. And let me explain something. You got to get over yourself. And I watch people all the time. They've never gotten over themselves. They still think that they're more important than their audience. All of us ought to laugh at ourselves a lot more. Everybody else is. That's why you never see me title conscious, position conscious. My name is John. I'm your friend. That's all you need to know. Not that the other stuff is a big deal. I already know who I am. I already found myself. Okay. I already know myself. Yeah, so I can be myself, so I can improve myself. But I do all that stuff so I can get over myself, because you see, it's all about you. When we got ready to release the book, we did a webinar. It went nuts. We did a webinar on the book, and the producers had the script all laid out. And so 2 days before we all went into the studio to do this script on the 16 laws, I sat down with the producers. And I said, let me explain something to you. I know you're the producer, but I'm the owner. And I don't know if you know the difference, but let me help you. I won't start on stage, because great communication doesn't start on stage. And if you watch the webinar, when it opens, I'm standing out in the audience, because great communication doesn't begin in this seat here, it begins in your seat out there. That's where it begins. I go into arenas many times before anybody gets there, and I just go out and sit in seats for 30 minutes. And I ask myself, okay, where are the people? What are they thinking? What are they feeling? How can I connect with them? What can I say? What can I do? Who can I become to help them really reach their potential? I was getting ready to speak at a large conference recently, and I was in the green room, and it was one of those days where you have several speakers, and I'm about, 5 minutes from speaking, and one of the speakers came up and said, well, what are you thinking about? I said, well, I'm thinking about the people. He said, man, I thought you'd be thinking about your talk. Oh, I said, no, I got the talk down. I'm not thinking about my talk. I'm not thinking about me. I'm thinking about the people. It's all about, and when you get over yourself, don't miss this. The moment that you get over yourself, then you can give yourself to others. You see, Step 6 is giving yourself to the audience, but you can't give yourself to the audience until you get over yourself. Does that make sense? Sure, it makes sense. It's rather brilliant, if I must say so myself. It's just brilliant. So, the largest writer in Nashville, the largest writing company in Nashville, about a year ago, the gentleman that owns the company contacted me and said, John, I literally built my company off of your books for 20 years. And he said, you ought to take your books and write songs based on your books. And I write poetry. I love to write poetry. I write poetry to my grandchildren and my children. So on their birthday every year, at the morning of their birthday, about 3:30 in the morning, I send them Papa's birthday poem. And when they wake up, the first thing they do is get the phone. They know there's a birthday. So I love to write poetry. And I said, well, I've never written songs. And he said, well, you need to. And he said, I'll give you the best writers in Nashville. Come up and get in the studio with these big boys and write some songs. And so I went up to Nashville, and sure enough, he had two big boys in the studio that have written #1 songs for all the players. And you've heard me talk before that if you're the head of the class, you're in the wrong class. Well, that day, I was not in the head of the class. In fact, let me tell you, it's also true if you're at the head of the class, you're in the wrong class. But that day I found out if you're at the bottom of the class, you're in the wrong class too. You kind of want to be a little bit in between. And they were so much bigger, better, faster than me. But we had so much fun. We went from 9 to 4, and we wrote a song. And it was so much fun. And what really threw me at the end of the day, they looked at me and they said, we love this. They said, come on back and we'll write some more songs. And so I've been doing it. And over the year now, I'm releasing an album over the next of 8 different songs. Yeah. And one of the songs is entitled "Get Over Myself." I would buy the song for the title. You may not need it, but how many of you have friends that desperately need? I mean, hey, I have a song for you. It's on me. It's on me. Get over yourself. Would you get over yourself? So I thought, if you want to have a little fun, would you like to hear it? Would you like to hear it? Okay, now, just a second. We're going to play it, but let me tell you something. While you're hearing it, get on Spotify, get on Apple. Listen to me very carefully. They told me in the first 2 weeks we had like 35, 40,000 hits on it. And they said that I'm on my way to having maybe a bestseller song. And I thought, man, a bestseller song and a bestseller book, I can die any day now. I just, take me, Lord. What else is there, huh? And so don't mess around. While you're listening to this song, you get on wherever you get your music and download your music. You get on it, because when you're done, I may even give a prize or two away to the people that, you just never know. So listen to enjoy the music, and go wherever you get your music, okay? And let's listen to "Get Over Myself."
Gotta find myself, to know myself, to be myself, to improve myself, to get over myself, so I can give myself to you. How many days will I waste looking over my shoulder at things that I didn't do? How many books could I write about times that I chose myself instead of you? To learn how to get out of my way, to find myself, to know myself, to be myself, to improve myself, to get over myself, so I can give myself to you.
Whoa, come on now.
To find myself, to know myself, to be myself, to improve myself, to get over myself.
Come on now, let's
give
go.
Myself to you. What good are words that you use when you don't live them out? You are the message you speak. Oh, something you know that you feel and you do. If it's in you, that's your credibility. myself, to be myself, to improve myself, to get over myself, so I can give myself to you. Find myself, to know myself, to be myself, to improve myself, to get over myself, so I can give myself to you. Do all the good I can, by all the means I can, in all the ways I can, in all the places I am, at all the times I can, to all the people I can, as long as I ever can, because I found myself, to know myself, to be myself. Whoa, find myself, to know myself, to be myself, to improve myself, to give myself, so I can give myself to you.
Come on, sing it with them now.
Find myself, to know myself, to be myself, to improve myself, to give myself, so I can give myself to you.
All right.
Get over myself.
Hey, how about that?
Get over myself. Get over myself.
Wow. Five.
Get over myself.
All right. Thank you. Oh, wait, hold. What are you? Are they? Oh, look, yeah. You're showing me you have the song. Do you have the song out there? Come on, huh? Did you get the song?
The Bible, I'll take the Bible. That's all good. I would love the Bible.
You would love the Bible?
Love the Bible.
I was going to give you this cheap book here. But if you'd love the Bible, you got it. Who would like to have the USB? All right, grab a seat. All right, download that song. And hey, tomorrow, if you want me to, I'll play you another one. We want to hear another one tomorrow? We'll do one. We'll do one tomorrow from my book, Make Today Count. Today Matters. So, well, we'll do another one tomorrow. So we're just having a blast with it, and share it with your friends and download it. Okay, so we took care of the law of credibility. Let's go to the second law, the law of preparation. I referred to that just a moment ago. And the law of preparation says you cannot deliver what you have not developed. In other words, you cannot give what you do not have. This is a huge law, the law of preparation. So let me tell you a story. Most of you know that I began as a pastor, and so I started in a little country church in southern Indiana, the poorest county in Indiana. It was a farming community. And I'm just out of college. I'm just a kid. And these farmers just loved me. They were so good to me. It was a great place to get started. I mean, and when I would preach, they were so kind and complimentary. They just said, oh, that was a great message. And one week, I had a very busy week, and I found myself Saturday evening not having my message for Sunday, and my time is very short. And so I sat down, and I put together a message in maybe a couple of hours. And I got up the next morning and I preached it, and it seemed like they liked that message better than anyone I'd ever delivered. And I thought, man, they really liked that message. And I didn't prepare much. I just did a couple of hours. And then I got into this huge temptation. I didn't work too hard on that one, and they really liked it. So maybe I don't have to work too hard on my preparation. And I started to become tempted to wing it instead of work for it. I thought, well, I think I can just wing it. I think I can just kind of get a scripture and a story and a couple other things, and I'll just kind of let it go. And these people are so kind to me, and so they just clap and cheer. I think I can just kind of wing it and not work for it. And really sadly for me, I spent a couple months just debating, should I wing it or should I work for it? Now, the good news is, after a couple months, I made a decision that I wasn't going to cheat myself or cheat the people, that I was going to prepare hard and I was going to work for my lessons. And so at that time, I made a decision to write every one of my messages out word for word. And I did that every Sunday for the next 24 years. Word for word. Little did I know, when I started working on my lessons and really working on my teaching and writing them out. See, little did I know that as I was working for it, little did I know that it would set me up for a career in writing later on. I never had an idea. I never thought I was going to write back then. I never thought I was going to be an author. I didn't know. But all of that working for it, preparing, helped me to become the person I am today. Now, here's what I don't want you to miss this, because this is really essential. In your giftedness, let's say that you're kind of a naturally gifted communicator. In your giftedness, if you wing it, you can get in the top 20% because you're gifted in that area. Are you with me? So in other words, you can get up and you can kind of let it fly, and people say, oh, that was really good. And you can get up into the top 20% by winging it if you're in your giftedness. If you're not in your giftedness, this will not happen. If you're winging it and you're not in your giftedness, you'll be in the bottom 2%. But if you're gifted, you can get in the top 20%. Now, here's what I don't want you to miss, because a lot of people get satisfied with the top 20%. But don't miss this. If you're in your giftedness and you work for it, you can get in the top 2%. And the top 2% is where you want to live. All of my life, I've been a top 2% person. I have lived in the top 2%. I have worked for the top 2%. I don't mean this unkindly, but you own the world when you're in the top 2%. You just do, it's just a fact of life. If you're in the top 20%, you can make a good living. If you're in the top 2%, life is full of abundance in just about every way that you could imagine. So that decision on preparation in communicating and preparing teachings to work for it instead of wing it has continually been a part of my life. And even teaching this lesson here in a book that I've already written in a chapter. This morning, I got up early and I sat down and I looked at my teaching and I went through it and I got mentally, emotionally, spiritually prepared for you. And you say, John, why do you spend so much time in preparation? And here's why I do. Because I value you too much to wing it. Why would I give you just the wing it stuff when I can give you the work for it stuff? It's how much do you value people? And to be honest with you, it's how much do you value yourself? And when you value yourself well and you value the people you deliver to well, all of a sudden you understand you're willing to prepare. Now, here's what's fun about this book, and here's what's so much fun about teaching this. I will promise you when you read this book, you're going to read things about communication that you've never read in any book. I will promise that. I will promise you, you will learn things you've never learned in community. I know that for a fact. Please understand, I'm speaking to this just as your friend, John, and I speak this in humility, but this is a high gift for me, and I've been doing it for 50 years, and I've spoken over 13,000 times, so I really got this down, okay? And when I was working on the book, this has happened to me on a few books, but not most of my books. When I was writing this book, I had moments, and I'm going to give you one now. I had moments where I was writing them where all of a sudden it was almost an out-of-body experience where I realized that there was something that I intuitively did that I've never understood myself nor explained to anyone else, that if I would just hold on, these this subconscious stuff, this intuitive stuff within me, that if I would hold on, it would come to me and I could write it on a page so that people could understand it. In other words, highly gifted people, one of their challenges is they know they're so intuitive with it that they think it's simple for everyone else. And it's like Ted Williams, who was the greatest maybe baseball hitter ever. When he got old and he no longer played baseball, what did they do? They made him a batting coach because he was the greatest hitter ever. Why wouldn't you let the best hitter ever be a batting coach? But he was a terrible batting coach. I mean, terrible. Not a success at all. And Ted Williams would get up to the batter, and he's the pitcher's pitch, and Ted Williams, and he'd miss the ball, and he'd say, watch the ball. You got to watch the ball. You got to watch the ball. The bug guys are trying to watch the ball. They're trying to watch the ball. You see, Ted Williams, when the ball was released from the pitcher's hand, in a split second, he could see the seams of the ball and tell whether it's a curve, a fastball, or a changeup. And he's telling them to watch the ball, watch the ball, watch the ball. You see, he's highly gifted. Highly gifted people many times don't teach well because it's all intuitive. So I'm writing this book on communication, and I'm a person of faith. I'm saying, God, help me to spell it out. And it happened in this chapter right here. One day I'm writing on preparation, how to prepare what I call the best message. The best message is the message I'm delivering to you right now. It's the subject at hand, communication. And I call it the best message because I'm doing it now and I'm giving it my very 100% best effort. It's the best message. All of a sudden it hit me that while I'm teaching the best message, I'm also delivering the big message. And the big message isn't the same as the best message. The best message is what you're taking notes on right now. So the best message is for paper. The big message is for the heart. All of a sudden I realized that in the Maxwell DNA that I was constantly giving the big message while I was doing the best message. And by the way, the best message changes all the time. A different subject to a different crowd for a different reason. But the big message never changes. It never changes at all. It's the big message. It's the heart. It's who I am as a person. So I'm teaching you through my gifts of communication things that you can take notes on, but I'm also delivering the big message of who I am that you're subconsciously receiving at the same time. And there are 4 questions you have to ask yourself to discover what your big message is. And I want you to write these down, and I'm going to promise you that if you work at this for the next few days, within a week or 2, you're going to determine and discover what your big message is. And let me just say this, your big message won't be like my big message. It shouldn't be. You're unique. It doesn't. And your big message isn't going to be what someone is sitting beside you's big message. In other words, the big message you teach is unique to you. It's who you are. It's you. It's your DNA. So there are 4 questions you have to ask yourself to discover what your big message is. And all the questions are about the audience that you're speaking to. And the 4 questions are very simple. What do I want them to see? In other words, when I'm teaching you today, what do I want you to see as an audience? Question number 2, what do I want you to know? As I'm teaching, what is it that I want to make sure that you know? Question number 3, what do I want you to feel? And question number 4, what do I want you to do? Those are the 4 questions. So I began to answer them for myself. It took me a couple of days. But I'm going to give you my answers, not because they're going to be your answer. I'm giving you my answers so that you understand this process very well so that you can now do the exercise on your own. So for me, okay, it's just for me. When I ask myself the question, what do I want you as an audience to see? What I want you to see are your possibilities. I am a possibility communicator. So whenever you hear Maxwell speak, no matter what the best message is, because it's going to be on different subjects, what you're going to feel, or what you're going to see as you're taking notes, is you're going to begin to see your possibilities. You're going to begin to see your potential. What I am is I am a lid lifter in people's lives. When I speak, they see higher than they've ever seen. They see further than they've ever seen. I lift the lid. I'm a possibility communicator. So whenever you hear me speak, whatever the subject is, I'm going to help you explore the possibilities of who you could become, what you could really do that would take you to another level. I'm a lid lifter. I'm a possibility communicator. That's what I want you to see. What do I want you to know? I want you to know that I value you as a person. I want you to know while you're taking notes that I value you greatly. In fact, that's the only reason I'm here. I'm here because I value you as people. God created you for greatness, and He doesn't make mistakes. In fact, I was doing a teaching, and we did a Q&A after the teaching, and a person raised their hand, and they asked a very fair question. They said, John, you talk about valuing people. Honestly, you don't even know who I am. How can you value me when you don't even know me? I said, well, that's very simple. Now, I said, you have to understand, I'm a person of faith. I don't know you. You're correct. But I value you because God created you. And when God created you, He placed value on you. He gave you giftedness. And so I said, I don't have to know you to value you. I just have to know God. And when I know God, I can value you. So when people hear me speak, they feel valued. They feel appreciated. They have a sense of better self-worth because I'm communicating to them, because they can sense that I believe in them. Okay, so you got that, okay? So what do I want you to see? Your possibilities. What do I want you to know? That I value you. What do I want you to feel? I want you to feel empowered. When you hear me communicate, I want you to feel that what I teach, you can go out and do. I want you to feel empowered. I want you to feel bigger than what you started with when we began the lesson. I want you to kind of have a sense that you can do this. You see, a lot of communicators, they want, when they're done speaking, they want people to leave and say, what an amazing speaker. I don't want you to leave saying what an amazing speaker I am. But besides, to be honest with you, between us, I already know that. My name's John, I'm your friend, but I know. I don't want you to say I'm an amazing speaker. You know what? When you leave, I want you to say, I'm an amazing person. In other words, I want you to feel empowered that what I have taught you, you can go out and apply. And what do I want you to do? I want you to apply. I want you to apply and multiply. Not just apply, but multiply. And I use the word multiply because I speak to leaders, and I expect leaders to get better, but I expect leaders to help their people get better. So we don't do this dead end street. If I want to do dead end streets, I'll go get me a bunch of followers and teach them. I got a bunch of leaders in this room. In other words, I expect you to take what you apply. Are you with me, huh? And you apply it, and you pass it on to others, and you build in their lives, and you develop them. That's what this is all about. This is who we are. Now that, my friend, is the big message. So now what I want you to do is you take those 4 questions, and on your own time, I want you to go figure it out. I want you to figure out those 4 things. What do I want people to see? What do I want them to know? What do I want them to feel? What do I want them to do? And when you're doing that, if you're not sure, talk to your friends who listen to you speak and say, is this me? Because once you get the answers correct, it has a ring of credibility to it until people say, yeah, that's Maxwell. I see possibilities. I know that I'm valued. I feel that I'm empowered, and I want to go out and apply it and multiply. That's who he is. That's the big message, and that's all in the law of preparation. Let me just say one thing about preparation, and then I got to get to another law. I'm looking at my clock. Yeah, okay. I'm doing okay. Be still. That doesn't work. Okay. when people say, well, John, how much time do you spend in preparation? All the time. I continually prepare. I prepare consistently all the time. There isn't a day in my life that I don't learn something that I put in my notes, that I don't read something that I file away. I'm preparing all the time. Now, am I preparing for a speech? Yes, but I don't know what speech it's going to be. But someday down the road, I'm going to need that material. You see, most people, what they do is they think of a subject and they go look for material. I look for material and then I think of the subject. You can live on either side of the track you want to. One's where the rich people live, one's where the poor people live. Take your pick. My name's John. I'm your friend, okay? But it's huge. So I'm constantly filing. I'm constantly preparing, because I know that I'm going to have opportunities to write books and speak to people, and I want to have a huge. My father was so wise, and he said, John, when he knew at 17 I was going to be a speaker, he said, John, keep the well full of water. Keep the well full of water, so when you take the bucket, it doesn't clang at the bottom. In fact, the word Maxwell out of Scotland comes from a well that is a well that is up to the max. It's full. Such a good name. Such a reputation to live up to. But I'm constantly preparing. It's not like I think now I've got to do a lesson next week, so I'll prepare. And by the way, the same way with the plan. I'm promising you, if I was in your life and I was in your business, man, I would have a killer plan. I would be so stinking good at this. And I would be good at this because I would be constantly learning new ways to teach it. And I know you got the basics. I'm not trying to get you distracted, but I would be having fresh illustration. By the way, if you're doing the plan and you're still giving a 10-year-old illustration, you're in trouble. How about a 10-day-old illustration? How about looking them in the eye and say, you know what, just last week, let me show you how this works. Are you with me? Yeah. Remember this, if your greatest days were 5 years ago, you're in trouble. Your has been, okay? Okay, that's better than it never will be, but there are better ways to live, trust me. Trust me. The third law that I want to teach today is the law of connecting. And the law of connecting just says communicators know it's all about others. Now, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this law because we've already done the get over yourself stuff. We're already understanding that it's all about others, always has been, always will be. But let me help you. Let me help you really understand how to make sure that you live this life of it's about others, and that there is no connecting unless you're connecting with your audience. And so let me every Palm Sunday for many years, I don't know, 30 years probably. Every Palm Sunday I read this piece I'm about to read to you. And it's one of the best get over myself pieces. It's all about other pieces that I've ever read. And so every year on Palm Sunday, because the event happened on Palm Sunday, every year I read this to myself. And so I'll read it to you. It's called Jesus Rides into Jerusalem on an Ass. By the way, right now I'm practicing the power of the pause. It's exactly what I'm doing. There's a law in the book called the law of change-up, which says boring is the death of communication. Oh, it's dear God. And I look at people and I say, did they work hard at being boring? Did they? Is this their goal? And so I have a whole section of a chapter on why I pause and the power of the pause. So I just did the power of the pause on the ass, okay? You're just going crazy right now. Jesus rides into Jerusalem on an ass. Okay, here we go. It was the first Palm Sunday, and here came Jesus riding into Jerusalem on an ass. Great crowds began to shout, "Hosanna, Hosanna." Some threw their coats on the road, and others spread out the palm branches. And the ass perked up his ears. "Well," he said, I had no idea they thought so well of me. Get the point? The next time somebody says Hosanna to you, or says that was amazing or they're wonderful, just remember, they're not actually saying Hosanna to you. You're just the ass that carries Jesus. Isn't that beautiful? It just settles the issue of how important we think we really are. Oh my gosh. So I'm the ass that carries Jesus, speaking to all of you asses out there. Well, by the way, that wasn't in the notes at all. That was totally uncalled for and unkind. And why did I enjoy it so much? That's the question. Because I'm an ass. That's exactly why I enjoyed it so much. So in this law, in this chapter, I talk about how do we connect with others. And I give you several things. Let me give you maybe a couple here right now. And the first one I just want you to know is that make your first impression the true expression of who you are. So when we go out and get ready to teach or speak or you get ready to give the plan, whatever, make sure that the first impression they have of you is the true expression of who you are. You want to immediately connect with the people based upon this is who I am. And that's why, what do? I have a stool. I sit down. My name is John. I'm your friend. You see, that's what I want you to know. I don't want you to know about my accomplishments. I don't want you to know about all the things I've done and all the places I've been. I want you to know I'm your friend. Because when you know that I'm your friend, all of a sudden, we're going to take a journey together, and we're going to learn together, and we're going to enjoy one another in this process. So that first impression, I want to be the true expression of who I am. And let me tell you something. Success is a great divider. I hate success for the fact that it divides people. And the more successful you are, the bigger the gap between you and the people. And I dislike that. I just dislike that completely. There's nothing healthy about me being here and you being there. I can't think of one thing that is healthy about that. I don't want to have the gap. I want to close the gap. And how do I close the gap? My name is John. I'm your friend. If you love sports, it's Jim Nance, who always starts his broadcast by saying, "Hello, friends." Now, he's the greatest announcer that has ever been in the history of sports. Hello, friends. Wow. So if you really want to impress people, talk about your success. But if you want to impact people, talk about your failures. Talk about the things that you don't do quite so well. They'll immediately identify with that, and I want to close that gap. I can still remember, because I've been doing this a long time. I have literally been speaking in conferences for now almost 30 years, and I've been doing this, or almost 50 years. I'm sorry, I've been doing this a long time. And I can remember how I loved the breaks. During the breaks, what I would do is I would speak an hour and a half, and then we'd have a 15-minute rest break, potty break, go get something to eat break, whatever, and then we'd come back. And I loved the breaks because I wouldn't go to the green room. I would come down to where the people were, and we'd meet at the front, and we'd just have conversation about what I was teaching. I loved the informality of just hanging with the people during the break. And then I'd go back up and I would speak. But my favorite part was just meeting the people and letting them ask a question or two. And it was so real. It was so personal. It was so right. I can remember very well the day I'm down there hanging with the people, and somebody had one of my books, and they said, "Would you sign my book?" And I said, "Well, yeah, be glad to." And I signed the book. And in the next conference, there were a few more with books. I remember the day when I couldn't go down and hang with the people because I had to sign books for a line, and I felt the separation. I thought I'm no longer getting to hang with the people. Now I'm signing books, and then can we take pictures? And honestly, I didn't like that. I mean, I'm glad to sign books. I'll sign books for 2 hours this afternoon for you. I'm glad to sign books, but there was something I lost, and I just said I don't mean this unkindly, but success is so overrated. I just said I just really like to hang with the people. I was having breakfast here in town today, and I didn't know it until the breakfast was over. The people right beside me, there were 4 people from Alaska, and their party, the group here, and they flew from Alaska to come here, and I was so glad that they came over and said we're part of Worldwide, and so we got to talk for a minute or two. I didn't get to talk to them a long time, but we hung there and we took a picture, and I was glad to do it. Gave them a hug. And by the way, you 4 from Alaska that I saw at breakfast this morning. Listen to me. I didn't know it until you left. You paid for my breakfast. Yeah. So, where are you? Where are you? Where are my 4 friends from Alaska? Are they up there somewhere? They over there? Oh, okay. Well, I want to thank you for breakfast, and I wanted to let you know where I'll be having lunch. I'm kidding. I am totally kidding. That's so cheap and so funny. And I'll be cheap for funny. I'm sorry. It's just who I am. It just shows you what a bad person I really am. But listen to me very carefully. So when you go by the book table, pick out any item you want, and I'm going to give it to you, okay? So pick out, just go by. And by the way, would you pay for everything else, okay? Pay for everything else. But just, yeah, but thank you for breakfast. But I don't like the gap. I don't like success separating me from people, because it's the people that allow me to be successful. I mean, if it was, you go home, I go home. When you stop, I'm out of business. I never forget where the source is. Let me give you another thing on connecting with people, and that is, I'm skipping a couple things here. Be intentional in seeking to understand their world. Be very intentional in seeking to understand their world. You got to find them before you lead them. And so I love walking. When I speak internationally, the way that I connect with the people is I go out and I'll ask them questions, and I'll say, help me out. Do you do this in your culture? And sometimes they'll say yes, sometimes they'll say no. But the moment they say yes, I say, well, let me teach on that for a moment. And it's just huge on identifying where the people are. It's just kind of a beautiful thing. But you gotta find them first. It's my great friend Linda Kaplan Thaler, the great marketing lady in New York City, who put the Where's the Beef in the Wendy's commercial, and put the duck in Aflac, and she's just brilliant. And she had She had a 10-minute interview with Warren Buffett. She had to fly from New York City to Omaha, Nebraska. And she said, John, do you think I ought to go? Gosh, they only gave me 10 minutes. And I said, well, it's Warren Buffett. And so she went, but you see, you got to find him before you can lead him. So she knew all about Warren Buffett. And when she got there, she knew that Warren Buffett's favorite beverage is cherry Coke. So when she went into the interview room with him, she had a glass of ice and a can of cherry Coke. She walked over and sat down, put the glass of ice there, opened the can of cherry Coke, started pouring and said, Mr. Buffett, I understand this is your favorite beverage, and I wanted to serve you your favorite beverage as we started the interview. And he smiled real big. He said, I love this. This is my favorite beverage. He said, how long's the interview? She said, well, they said I could have 10 minutes. Oh, he said, anybody that brings me cherry Coke, you can have as long as you want. Yeah, and an hour and 10 minutes later, the interview's over. Cherry Coke. Cherry Coke. You don't miss this whole process of connecting. I mean, she walked out that day and said, I increased my interview a whole hour because I knew him. Okay, I'm going to give you gold right now. This is so good, it's ridiculous. And I don't know what to say except I'm going to, in the next 3 to 4 minutes, I'm going to just absolutely lift you to another level. When you give the plan, I mean, how many of you want to do the plan better than you've ever done before? Huh? Yeah. Let me ask you another question. How many want the person beside you to really do the plan better than they've ever done before? I mean. Okay. Just fasten your seatbelt, take good notes, listen carefully, because your friend John is going to lift you right now. You're going to be able to do the plan at a different level. If you follow what I teach in this book, the 4 F's of speaker awareness. When you are speaking to a group, you have to be incredibly aware. By the way, that's why you have to get over yourself so you can give yourself to people. If it's about me, I can't be aware about where you are. I can't be watching you and thinking about me. And so I'm going to up-level your speaker awareness, and all you got to do is remember I'm going to give you 4 F's. And if you could just remember these 4 F's, when you sit down and do the plan, it's going to take you to a whole new level. You ask yourself 4 questions. Question number 1, what does my audience feel? You start with, what does my audience feel? So, if I were given the plan, I wouldn't start off with the plan. Good Lord, that's pathetic. I would put myself in their shoes. And I would ask myself, what was it like the first time I heard the plan? What was it like when somebody invited me to something I didn't understand? In fact, there are people getting ready to listen to you give the plan, and they're not even sure why they're there. And they're very, listen to me, uncomfortable. They're a little nervous. They're not sure what's going to happen. They're not sure what you're going to say. They're not going to sure that they like what you're going to say. You've got to understand, you don't start with where you are. You start with where the people are. You start with this little group you got in your living room. And you got to ask yourself the question, what do I feel? So when I would do the plan, I'd look at it and say, let me tell you something. Can I tell you about the first time I heard the plan? I was so nervous. Dear Lord, I didn't know what I was up to. I didn't even know why I was there. In fact, there were a couple of times I thought about leaving. Do you see what I'm doing? I'm identifying with the audience. You want your audience to look at you and say, he or she understands me. They know exactly what I feel. So the first question, you just start off and say, what does my audience feel? The second question, have I felt the same way? You cannot connect with your audience if you didn't feel the same way. The greatest connection between the communicator and the people is that we both look at each other and say, we both have felt like that. So that the person in the audience looks at you and says, wow, boy, she knows exactly where I am. So you connect with the audience by understanding what they feel, and then you say, and I have been there. I have felt the same way. In fact, if I was doing the plan, I'd say, to be honest with you, I almost left. Almost. I came this close to leaving. Wow. But I'm so glad I stayed. My name's John. I'm your friend. You take them to the third F. First one, what does my audience feel? Second F, have I felt the same way? Third F, what have I found that helped me? This is where hope begins to happen. Let me tell you, when I got into this business, let me tell you the discovery that I had no idea that this totally surprised me. I would have never in 100 years figured this out. Let me tell you what I found in this business that I would have never known if I wouldn't have gotten this business. Now you're starting to give them hope. You're starting to show them that, oh my gosh, if I hang here, listen long enough, and maybe sign up, maybe this is going to take me to a place where I've never been and teach me things I've never known and give me an experience I've never had. And then you take them to the fourth F. And I can help you. I can help you find the answer. The moment that they know that you found it and that you can help them find it, everything begins to change. Now you are connecting with them because you've used the 4F. You take that, begin to work that into your presentation when you talk to the people. And remember this as a communicator. Never get too far ahead of where the people are. At any moment you tend to think that maybe I'm starting to lose them, go back to where they are. Say, now let me just stop here for a moment. Maybe let me just backtrack a step or two. Make sure that they're all on the same page. Keep them with you. Keep them with you through the whole process. If you'll do that, it's absolutely amazing how incredible the law of connecting really is. Now, I think I have time for one more. Would you like to hear one more? Are we okay? Oh, I love this law. This is, oh my gosh. This is so good. Somebody asked me the other day, what's your favorite law? It's like asking what your favorite child is. You know, whatever law I'm on is my favorite. You know, whatever child I'm with is my favorite. You with me? You know what? So this is the law of anticipation. And the law of anticipation says, when you can't wait to say it, they can't wait to hear it. When you anticipate what you're going to say is going to change a life, you're going to create anticipation in their life that's going to help them understand that their life is going to be absolutely changed. So people ask me, they say, you must be incredibly disciplined to get up at 5:30 every morning and you start writing. And I want you to know, I'm not incredibly disciplined at all. I'm just full of anticipation. Anticipation awakens me, not discipline. Good Lord. If I was so stinking disciplined, I wouldn't be so fat. This isn't complicated. My name's John. I'm your friend. It's anticipation that gets me up. I can hardly wait to slip on my robe and get down to my desk and take my 4-color pen and get my legal pad and start writing, because I'm going to write something on paper that has potential to change lives. And when you have a sense of anticipation about your business, that this business has potential to change a life and bring transformation to people and help them go to a level that they maybe would never go without it. When your life begins to be full of anticipation, it begins to become absolutely huge how that your speaking now will begin to be contagious. Anticipation makes your speaking contagious. Why? You can hardly wait to deliver it. The moment they can tell that you can hardly wait to deliver it, they can hardly wait to hear it. See, at 5 o'clock this morning, I want to call all of you and say, I'm ready. If we would have started at 5 o'clock, I wouldn't have had to pay a bit of attention to this stupid clock they got up here. We could have done it. We could have done a 4-hour seminar and got some stuff done, got some stuff accomplished. I'll change it up. Anticipation. That's why when people say, well, I don't know. I'm thinking about, I don't know about the business. I just, man. I'm thinking, I make, quit. Next phrase, you come and tell me you want to quit, I'll encourage you. Oh, I wish you would quit. Go home. Please, get out of the way so the rest of us can do something. Just move on. Hey, do you think it's my life ambition to carry you all the way home? Do you think I can hardly wait to lift you up, you sorry self, one more time? If you don't like the business, get out of the business. You can't sell what you don't love. I watch people all the time. Well, I don't know. Well, I do. Quit. Help us out. We're tired of lifting you. We're tired of carrying you. We're tired of waiting on you. We're tired of hoping for you. Hope for yourself. Lift your own self. We're supposed to leave our footprints in the sands of time, not our butt prints in the sands of time. Get off your butt. Just get off your butt. So how do you create how do you create an atmosphere of anticipation? I give you some fun stuff in there. One is I tell you to turn the faucet on. You say, what do you mean turn the faucet on? What I mean is turn the faucet on. Do you go up to the sink and stand there and hope water comes forth? Do you go up and say, no. You turn the faucet on. Until you turn the faucet on, the water doesn't come. These people that are going to do it someday, thinking about it someday, when I do this, then I'll be able to do that. Listen to me. Just turn the damn faucet on. What part of this do you not understand? Nothing happens until you take action. No one ever thought their way to success. Nobody ever believed their way to diamond. They worked their butt off to get there. It's work. You got to get in the game. Turn the faucet on so the water can come. You got to turn the faucet on. Number 2. Set the table so people know some good food is coming. I watch communicators never set the table. What do you think this is? A picnic? Set the table. And you set the table with anticipation phrases. Wow. Things like, I woke up this morning and I got so excited about what I'm about to share with you. I could hardly wait for this moment. Let me tell you something. I'm going to share with you something right now that I've never shared with anyone else when I made a talk. How many dozen do you want me to give you? Oh my gosh. When I was thinking about you the other day, I wrote this down and I thought, I'm not going to say anything to anybody till we got together so I would pass it on to you first. Whew. I have created this lesson just for you. See, I mean, how many do you want me to go on an hour? Yes, you do. That was a stupid question I asked right there, wasn't it? That was a very stupid question. I'll back off from that. Just shows you how great communicators can be stupid once in a while. Let me give you another phrase. Be a fountain, not a drain. Dear Lord, when you take a trip and when you go to Rome, you want to see the fountains. The fountains are incredible, and they were built hundreds of years ago, and they have such history and such meaning, and water is springing forth and spraying people, and it's the sun that's glimmering in there, and it's full of life, and it's just there's inspiration around the fountain. You want to be a fountain. You want when you walk in the room, you want everybody to say, "Oh my gosh, fountain arrived." Listen to me. Nobody ever went to Rome and went to the tourist bureau and said, "Where are the drains in the city?" We love drains. It's so inspiring watching something suck. Oh, shoot. Somebody says, "I can't believe what you say. It'd be more impressive if you knew what I didn't say." Just leave it there. And by the way, just one more thought. I'm talking about anticipation. Talking about being in anticipation. Because let me say something. You're either plus in people's lives or you're minus. When you walk in a room, people say, "Oh my gosh, she's here." You're a plus. Or you're a minus. When you walk in a room, people suck air and go, "Oh my, hope they don't see me." Be a plus. Be a fountain. Add value to people. Walk into the room and look at people and understand that you have in that room people that have potential to really have life change. The beautiful thing, and I gotta finish. I really wanted to get the law of leverage because that's such a huge law, but if I teach all the laws, you won't buy the book, and that would be stupid. Here's what's beautiful about communication. When you do it well, people's lives are changed. They're just changed. When you communicate well, and people understand what you said, and they kind of lean into you, you then take people and you just lift them to a whole new level. And that's what I want for you. Because my name is John. I'm your friend. Thank you. Thank you.
We'll lower the lights.
Thank you. Thank you very much.